JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. May 28th, 2024. Hope everyone had a great extended holiday weekend. Talk about the markets really quick, some of the names I'm looking at, and some of the names, some updates on some other names. Take a look at the SPY. Had that sell-off after NVIDIA earnings, despite the fact that NVIDIA still closed up 9% last Thursday. And then Friday, it seemed like if there was a chance for the bears to maybe take advantage of the situation and finally start to pressure stocks, that would be it. Instead, markets closed up on Friday. And then we had the long weekend and all the headlines around NVIDIA, how big its market cap is compared to sectors, to individual names, how big it's moved. And I'm sure that the banter is going to continue to happen. That's just uh, it's just the nature of the beast, I guess you would call it. So with that, you also have some of these AI names running in tandem, especially Dell. And gosh, I remember ranting from I don't know if it was like the second or third week in April around its market position, its backlog, its partnerships, to NVIDIA's CEO mentioning him at their GTC conference. And here it is after their event last week, then NVIDIA earnings. Now they have earnings Thursday. So I would not be surprised. I thought 165, now I'm like maybe 185, but premium stuff. I'll talk about that in a second. But this week we have the PC data Friday morning, and then we have some earnings, some retail names, a couple here and there. Ulta, I don't think too much in the way of a market moving catalyst outside of Friday's data, but hard to see it really doing too much unless it comes in substantially hotter than expected. So last week of May, and then I guess we'll get the sell in May, go away mantra, and we'll move to June. But put it on the watch list. 525 or so, we hit that in the middle of May. We hit it last week on Thursday. So if things do get dicey in the next couple days, want to see that hold. If not, then I'd be a little more concerned, but I think that's going to be strong support. Flip side, resistance around 531 or so on the SPY. So that's a SPY. Just talk about Dell. Just a massive move after its April, start of March had the big earnings, consolidation, and then just a ramp higher. And I mean, have to think they're going to have huge beat and raise. They're going to announce a monster backlog. It's going to be an extremely bullish conference call. You have to wonder, how bullish does it have to be for the stock to really take off? And if it's uber bullish, maybe it goes to 200 or so, you get some serious FOMO. It was just last week, it was a $100 billion market cap. And you start doing the comparisons, look at NVIDIA's market cap and its growth and SM Supermicro. So all these names, certainly, I mean, I wouldn't rule out some more FOMO here. I was looking at the premiums. It's almost, and I was looking on Friday too. It's almost, I would say it's impossible to play, but they're expensive. So for me, I might, if I do get anything, would do with the hope of getting some premium builds before Thursday close. If not, I'll probably just pass. But I do think there's a sympathy trade possible, and that's HPQ. Not a name I've mentioned. I don't even know if I've traded that before, since it's split off into two separate entities. But here's a name. Buffett had a huge stake. The stock has pretty much treaded water for 2 years. Not the most sexiest names. And when you think of HP, you think more about their printer line of business, or at least that's how I look at it. So that's not a huge sexy growth story that it used to be with their Gillette razor kind of system, right? You get the printer and then you're on the hook for overpriced ink, right? That was their business model. That's kind of gotten away the dinosaur a little bit. But now you look and there's some AI tailwinds, and supposedly there's going to be the biggest cycle change for PCs updates since in 20 years. That's the big I guess selling point for folks to ditch what they have now and get updated models to be able to handle AI or whatever. But you have to think there's going to be some tailwinds here for HPQ, even if it's a slightly inline number. It's already taken off a little bit from 2750 at the start of May, but I think there's more baked in there. So you have Buffett sold off his stake. There wasn't really any explanation. He had already sold off some, then he sold off all. And then you have David Einhorn coming out with a bull case back in April that he thinks AI is not baked in whatsoever to HPQ. And if you look at the chart, in the long-term chart, yeah, you can make the case the start of 2022 as a $37 stock. You look at the fundamentals too in regards to HPQ and Dell, and you're not going to do apples to apples because they're not similar exact model. They don't have the same customers and all that fun stuff. But you look at the debt, and Dell has $26 billion in debt, and I think they have $7 billion in cash, whereas HPQ has almost $3 billion in cash and $9 billion in debt. But the ratios, I look at the multiples, and it's not pricing in much in the way of growth for HPQ. And not only that, they've been buying back stock and they issue a dividend. So I think if there's any rosy update on HPQ, I think it trades into the mid 30s and then it heads over 40 in the coming weeks. So that's kind of what I'll look at. The good thing about HPQ, the calls are inexpensive. So if it does that, I was looking at like some even the July strikes, you can get to 38 calls, and I don't even if did I pull them up. I think I had them up here. Like the July 38s are 16 by 24. So you have 52 days for the stock to break out, and it's probably going to do start it if it has a great earnings report. And then the flip side is okay, Buffett sold out. There's probably a reason he did that. He's a value investor, so it does have a dividend. So why would he cash out of that? I don't know. Is it because he had that Apple stake and he's worried that he has too much on the hardware side? I don't, I'm not going to sit here and think about it. I just think there's a possibility for a sympathy move and an opportunity. So don't be surprised if you see me add some HPQ calls. Added those align calls on Friday. I think this is ready. If it breaks over 260 today, I might look for some more strikes. I think it's ready to bounce. You take a look. It was at 330 after its earnings, and it's sold off ever since for no reason. Had great earnings. So I remember reported its earnings at the end of April, and I thought, wow, that's an earnings going to go to $400. I don't know. There's a lot of folks short in the name. There's a lot. It's a divisive name. So sometimes it just sells off just because of that, but they have a huge accelerated stock purchase program that's ending in July. They have $1 billion in purchases authorized already. I just think it's going to melt higher regardless of what goes on. So that's my bull case on the line in the next coming weeks. CGC reports earnings Thursday morning. That one had five session losing streak, came to an end on Friday, just barely closed up nearly 1%. Still like this name. Hopefully doesn't break under that 50-day, which is at 861. But I think we find some footing, sets up nice into earnings, and then you have to think similar to what's going to happen on the HPQ conference call. It's going to be bullish with all the positive catalysts on the horizon. So I think that bodes well for CGC. Not much here to add on GPCR, just down 3% on Friday for no other reason than people sold it off. They'll have data before the end of June. I think it's trades over 50 in the coming weeks, so it's got to do it before the June expiration. But some of the reason why the premiums are expensive there. VKTX they also going to have data out before the end of June in regards to their mash. If I keep saying it, well, I said it last week. I'm probably going to just keep looking for inexpensive weekly strikes to go with my June 100 freebies that I locked in already. And then once it gets to June expiration, I'll look for further strikes to encompass later down the road. I'm still surprised. It's number one, there hasn't been any M&A in the GLP-1 space, even some of these smaller names like MyTurn or Altimmune or GPCR, and that it just still down here. That just drives me nuts. I talk about the MASH, and the MASH is way out there. MDGL already has the first drug to market, and the market capitalization it's not even baked into VKTX in my opinion. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. iRobot, hopefully it starts to get going here. It's over $10. I hope maybe another insider buy. GME is rocketing today, so maybe the memes start to put bid back in those names. And I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, and last but not least, I don't want to talk about EMVX. It's not much I was going to do an audio piece on it, and maybe I will at some point. Just I don't want to waste too much time on it. I already have my bear case set up. It's just what catalysts are there that could happen immediately besides, you know, who knows? So I just look, and if I made a little chart, put it on the watch list that just shows how long the stock has traded under $9 or so. Not often. So anybody who says they're up huge, or because I get attacks everywhere saying, "Oh, you're down on this," but like anybody who's been long the stock, it was in the 40s in 2022. It was all the way up in the mid 20s in 2023. It was 15 or so to start 2024, and it traded in the teens for pretty much 75% of this year so far. So it's sitting at 11. Maybe it overshoots. Again, there's no catalyst that I can see on either side. Well, the company has catalysts. They can just keep putting out generic press releases with non-specific information to keep their shareholders invigorated, whatever you want to call it. But that's that. I'm trying to think of some other things. Oh yeah, CAVA reports. Gosh, these names, and I had the CAVA calls, and it was too volatile for me to hold. Did I have June's? Did I have June 80s or maybe I had May 80s. I don't, either way, or maybe I had 65s. I have to go back and look. um, I'm trying to see which ones I had on the CAVA. I don't have my account logged in, so I can't even get up to, let's see, then I'll have to search and I could do that. Hang on a second. Sorry about that, folks. Uh, yeah, I have to go look. But anyway, so you look at it and it like any way you dice up the company, the fundamentals just don't jive, right? I mean, even if you compare it with Chipotle and use the same, either the revenue multiple or their growth or whatever, but they did grow 59% year over year last year. I the Obviously when you're up against bigger numbers, they're not going to have that same kind of growth. And then also they're not opening as many locations this year, so that will take away a little bit. But you got to think it's like these FOMO names that people are going to look at CAVA and say it's the next CMG, and they're just going to continue to pile into it. So it got more upgrades last week. You also have that SG name, the sugar green. What's shore green? What's that one called? Sweet Green, another name. I've never been in Sweet Green location in the city or what have you, but another name that they just had great earnings in May. This thing went from the low 20s, well, low to mid 20s, all the way up into it hit 34. And it's been consolidating. If Kava has great earnings, that might be a nice sympathy play. That thing could go to $40 and baffle people, right? And Kava, you look at Kava, maybe it goes to 120. Certainly not out of the realm of possibility. It's just premiums are tough, and you start looking at the calls. And for me, if I was in already, it's a little different story. But I mean, the June, I mean, if you really think the June hundreds are 145 by 175. So I mean, if it goes to 90, $95, those will be at least a double, triple. $12.90 implied on the June strikes. So you do the math. Was that a 16% move? I don't have my quick math number glasses on right now, but certainly could see some FOMO, especially if there's a strong report. I don't even think it needs to have a huge beat and raise. If it's in line, it's going to continue to have FOMO. But when a stock's up so much so fast, let's see where Kava is over the last. It was $60 pretty much right at the end of end of April, and here it is 86. Well, is it 86 in the pre-market? 85.50. So, hey, I mean, it certainly looks like people are piling in. But that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on the audio later. Got about 37 minutes to the open. Rock and roll.